What is up, guys? We're back, and today I kind of wanted to do something a little different. I know you guys have seen like a lot of my training and posing and stuff like that, but today I kind of just wanted to break down exactly my entire process in fitness and my whole journey kind of leading up to where I'm at now. Because a lot of you like know me for who I've been like the last year, but there's 7-ish years, almost 8 years of training now and transforming over the years and competing. I've competed 6 times. And I think you guys would find it fascinating seeing the progression over the years and kind of what went into all of that. So I guess first I'll take you back to 2016. That's when I started getting like really serious about lifting. Growing up, I was a 3-sport athlete like my whole life. Sports ended. I went to go play football at this little school in Ohio, a little D3 school in Ohio. And that had, I had trouble with financial aid and stuff, just couldn't afford it, honestly. So I came back home and then kind of got out of shape, like pretty rapidly. I didn't have sports anymore. I didn't really know what I was doing, training. I always did like athletic training. So my brother had suggested like just starting to go to the gym. My brother lifted all the time. So he was like, yeah, just start going to the gym. Come with me. So started lifting, started training, and I fell in love with it. It was so much fun. So that was 2016. I started training seriously. As soon as I started, I became obsessed. It was like therapy. There was a lot of stuff going on at home as well. My parents split up. We lost our childhood home. Just bouncing around trying to find a place to stay. My brother and I lived together. So it just became like this place where I could escape all of my problems and just focus on benching or squatting or whatever I was doing and not having to really deal with the reality of the situation. So in a way it was like to cope, but it helped me in so many ways. But that was my introduction to the gym. So then I became obsessed with it, started to see a little bit of results, and I was like, oh my gosh, let's see what we can do with this. So I had reached out. Funny enough, my middle school vice principal was a bodybuilder in Michigan. So I got his contact information, reached out to him, and I was like, hey, I really want to get into this bodybuilding thing. Is there any way you can kind of show me how? He ended up having like a surgery he needed to do and all this stuff. So I was like, I guess I'll just learn on my own. So from there, it was like deep dive down into the rabbit hole, watching like Matt Ogus, Steve Cook, Bradley Martin, David Lade, like the OG guys in the very beginning. Learned as much as I could, implemented a lot of their stuff into my training. Learned how to diet through like a Steve Cook video, I think. I just learned how to like kind of structure my diet at least. And from 2016 to 2017, I decided, okay, I'm going to actually compete. It looks cool. I really want to try it. Men's physique was relatively new. I knew I didn't need to be huge and 300 pounds. I was like, oh, cool. You can just look good in board shorts and step on stage if you're lean enough. That's kind of what my thought process was. My first show, prepped all by myself, did it all by myself. It was like a medium-sized show, I guess, a local show, and ended up winning the overall at my very first show ever. So that, of course, got me hooked. I like did not want to stop, so I immediately just found another show I could do like 3 or 4 weeks later. So I did my second show like right away. Did men's physique again. This was 2017, and I won my class at that show. I did not win the overall, but I won my class. So I won 2 shows back to back. And those were my first 2 shows ever. So I was like, wow, maybe maybe there's something here. Let's just keep doing it. So from there, I got into this like off-season period where I didn't know anything about reverse dieting. I had no idea what I was doing. I just binge ate basically. Struggled with the eating stuff. I would just eat tons and tons and tons. And then I would be like, what am I doing? And then I wouldn't eat. And then I'd eat tons and then I wouldn't eat. And I facilitated some sort of like a binge eating thing. It was short-lived, maybe a couple months after my first 2 shows. It was like that, but it definitely like damaged my physique, and I was looking so rough going into 2018. And I'll put a video of that up. So I went through like a dirty bulk, which was my excuse to just eat really bad, got in like bad shape. I mean, I was like still training really hard. The training has never stopped. I've never slowed down with training. But the diet in the beginning, the first couple years, was just all over the place. And you guys will see. I mean, it's like evident that I didn't take anything serious. The off-season serious. So I go from there. 2018 rolls around. I'm like, I want to compete again. Let's do it again. Let's see what we can do. So I registered to compete in like the second biggest show in Michigan. It was like, it's a pretty competitive show. Signed up for that. Was breezing through prep and was looking the best I had ever looked in my life. I'll upload pictures of that as well. But I think it was 8 or 9 weeks out, I get this pain in my stomach, and my brother and I are living together, and I'm like, man, I don't know what's going on. I had this sharp pain. It was hurting all day, and the afternoon rolls around, and I'm like, this is excruciating. And I told my brother, like, I'm just gonna try to sleep this off. I don't know what's going on, but I'm gonna have to just try to rest it off. I don't want to have to go to the hospital. And then the middle of the night, I wake up. I can barely stand. I'm like in so much pain. It feels like I'm gonna pass out. So my brother rushes me to the hospital. Go to the hospital. Come to find out, I have appendicitis. My appendix was super inflamed. It was gonna burst. Luckily, I decided to go. My brother took me. I got an emergency appendectomy. Removed my appendix. Stitched me all back up. And they were like, hey man, no training, no weights, no nothing for like the next 8 weeks or something like that. And keep in mind, I was like 8 or 9 weeks out from my show. And I was like, well, I want to compete, so what can I do? And he's like, no weights, nothing above 5 pounds for the next 8 weeks. So I get out of the hospital. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Go back, get out of the hospital, go home, get back to the gym. I'm using like 5-10 pound weights for like a week or two. And this is so stupid. I don't recommend any of you guys doing this, but I was so dead set on competing, and I wanted to get back on stage so bad. I stuck to my diet. I did 45 minutes of cardio every day at the time. I was doing like 30-40 rep sets with really light weight. And I honestly kind of like wasted muscle. I was really flat, but I came in super lean. But I did that show. Of course, it affected my physique. Of course, I lost a considerable amount of size. So when it came to show day, I was like a little bit smaller. I think I was even lighter than I was the year before in 2016 when I stepped on stage, just because my muscles had atrophied and things like that. So compete, I took second this year. I'm so bummed. And I already know, like, I need to take time, let my body heal, let my body recover. And the sport was growing so rapidly. People were getting so much bigger so fast. I just knew, like, the thing for me coming from being like a really skinny high school guy to like a skinny fat sort of out of high school guy, like, I need to pack on size. So I decided I'm not going to compete the following year. We'll see what goes on the next year after that. And I really stuck to like eating clean, even in my off season, not going too off the rails. The best I could within reason. You know, I still like would go out every once in a while, have drinks, and things like that. So, you know, I still had a pretty balanced life, but I was much more conscious of what I was putting in my body and how that's going to affect me moving forward. I didn't want to regress in training. I wanted to progress rapidly. So at least grow in the next couple of years. So from 2018 to 2021, straight up just training hard, hitting, you know, just focusing on getting as strong as I've ever been, the biggest I've ever been. And I got to like 250 pounds, I want to say. Yeah, 250 pounds. I think. No, I'm wrong. But I got to like 240 in the off season. And then I started a prep in 2021. And I registered for that exact same show I did in 2018 and took second, because I was like, I need to come back and reclaim what I thought was going to be mine mentally back then. So I get on prep for that. And then this is where Jeremy DeSantis, he's my coach. I finally hire a coach, and it's Jeremy. And man, oh man, did that change the game for me. He took me through prep. Fantastic prep. Helped me with my posing, as you guys can see. In the pictures and videos and stuff, my posing got so much better. My physique had developed. Like, I focused on weak point training, and I didn't just vaguely train to build a good overall physique. I focused on the parts of me that were lagging, and I really attacked those going into the show and stuff. And I think it like completely changed the game for me. So going into that show, it was the best I ever felt. And then you get like a week out. It was peak week, I get this pain in my jaw, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? I have this weird pain. So I go to the gym the next day, didn't think anything of it. My roommate at the time was like, hey, your cheek is kind of swollen. And I'll insert a picture. And it was like a little bit swollen, sticking out. And then by the end of that day, it blew up. So I'm a week out from my show. My face is this swollen. I had some sort of infection or something. To this day, I don't even know what it was. Was freaking out, called my mom, freaking out. My whole face is like, I has a knot on it. My skin starts getting really weird. It's like red. I have red spots all over me. And I'm like, what is going on? I didn't know if it was stress. I didn't know if it was like I have an autoimmune disease. I didn't know if it was that like affecting my skin. I had no idea what was going on. So we get to show day, or like the day before show day, right? You have to go to the hotel, you have to get your tan, and you have to like register and do all that stuff, check in as an athlete. So I get there, I get my spray tan. I notice I'm covered in all these discolored dark dots, these spots all over my body when I get my tan on, and we just can't even it out. So I was freaking out. My jaw was still a little bit swollen. This is the day before the show. I just tried to like decompress, put my legs up, lay down, don't think about it. Hopefully tomorrow it's going to be okay. And lo and behold, I wake up the next morning, the swelling in my jaw is gone, but I do still have these spots all over my body. I go in for my second coat of tan. It evened it out a little bit more, but you could still see dots all over my back, all over my stomach, and on my chest. But I was in by far the best shape I've ever been in my life. So I was, on one hand, super excited because I know I blew every physique I had out of the water beforehand. But at the same time, I was just freaking out, like, oh, these spots are going to make me lose, blah, 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 blah. But, well, we go through prejudging. I notice I'm in the center. I'm center stage, which is a good indicator you're going to place well later when you do the night show. So I came back for the night show. Come to find out I won my class. And then we compete for the overall, and I won the overall. So that like lit a new fire under me. I was like, okay, I'm gonna like really take this serious now, kind of understanding bodybuilding a lot more in the route I need to take. So competed 4 times at this point. Now we're going into 2022, which was last year. So last year, have an incredible off season, the best off season I've ever had in my life, because I like was like, this is what we're gonna do. I'm doing this now. I'm really gonna do this for real. So I have a great off season, and I have a full off season with a coach, which was even better. Jeremy, my coach, he's an IFBB pro, but took me through my off season. My training was fantastic. Food was on point. Like there was no messing around. Like it was insane. So come off of a really good off season, start prep for 2022. I know for sure I'm gonna do junior nationals, because I had in 2021, I qualified for a national show. So that carries over a year. So I was like, I want to try to go pro in 2022. So in my mind, I'm like, I'm going to do junior nationals. I want to try to go pro. I want to see where I stack up against all these guys. But I want to do it naturally. So I'm like, okay, let's just see where we're at. Start prepping, the weight's dropping more and more and more. I'm starting to look really good. I do look really good, but you have to keep in mind, like a local show and a pro qualifier, it's a whole different ballgame. So my coach and I sat down and we talked about kind of what's realistic, and if my goals are to go pro and I do want to be a competitive pro, what that entails. And obviously that entails certain supplements you have to take, right? So it was 8 weeks out from junior nationals. We decided to go ahead and start. So we did. And prep was fantastic. Started losing body fat. My weight kind of just stayed the same. I just recomped so fast. I responded so well. I was stuck at 220 for like a 5-6 weeks straight, but I was just getting leaner and leaner every week. And then stopped at about a week and a half, 2 weeks out, because I ended up doing the Michigan first. So stopped the supplementation, did the Michigan, had the next week off the peak. So I did the Michigan first, I jumped into the Michigan like a couple days out, 4 or 5 days out. I decided, okay, I'm going to do the Michigan first, see if I'm competitive there. If I am, then it's going to give me some momentum going into junior nationals. So I do the Mr. Michigan, the Michigan State Championships, and it was stacked, super competitive. Luckily, once again, I won my class, and then we battled for the overall with some really strong competition, and I ended up winning the overall last year, which was incredible. All at the same time, all my social media stuff was blowing up last year. It was like the craziest thing that's ever happened to me in my entire life. Changed my whole life. And then we go into junior nationals like a week and a half later, something like that. Junior nationals was in Tennessee, so I had to leave a couple days early, drove down from Michigan at the time. Was nervous and had never done a national show before. A lot of people do 3 or 4 before they go pro, so I had no expectations, I had no idea how it was going to play out. I know you have to put your time in, it takes time. I'm willing to keep trying. So I was more open to just seeing how well I would do. If I don't place well, okay, that's okay. If I do place well, then cool. So I get there, get my tanning goes well, check-ins go well. I see the competition, I'm like, holy smokes, is this different than a local show, you know? But, so, settle into my Airbnb, check in with my coach, he's like, hey man, let's go, you're looking nasty, so let's just do the damn thing. I was a little flat, I think. I lost a little bit of fullness, I was a little flat, but I was really, really lean, and I thought that would help me. And I think maybe it did, I'm not quite sure, but those guys, you know, at the national level are just so big. So compete the following day, we have prejudging. Prejudging rolls out. There's so many guys in my class, like 3, 4 call outs, maybe 5 or something. And we all line up on the diagonal and they have their first call outs, and then they start rattling off a couple names, and then the last name to be called in the first call outs was my number. I can't remember what number I was, but they called my name. So I get first call outs at my first national show, and I'm so stoked just to see where I stack up. Are they going to move me close to the middle? Am I going to be on the outside? Who knows? I start off on the very outside, then they move me in a little bit, and then they kind of move me out a little more. I think I was on the outside. I ended up taking 5th at junior nationals, so 4 places off of a pro card. And the biggest critique for me, at least, was just to put on more size. Those dudes were huge, and there's no weight cap in men's physique. So those guys can be 225, 230, where if they were all to be competing in Classic, the weight cap is 220. So you would actually have to be lighter to compete in Classic. Where last year, if I competed at Classic at junior nationals last year, I would have had a better shot because the guys were so big in men's physique. And in Classic, I'm like a pretty balanced physique, and I was just under the weight cap. So, I regret it, but hindsight's 2020. I still had a great experience, and I'm glad I placed top 5 at my first national show. So it went well. I'll show you guys like kind of how I was looking at all that stuff. But then we go into this past off season, man, where supplements are in the picture now, and I decide it's time for me to switch to Classic. It makes sense. I was like 7 pounds under my weight cap for Classic last year, and this year it's pretty reasonable that I'll be very, very close, if not like right on my weight cap this year for Classic. For my height, it's 220, so I need to be 220, under 220 to make my weight for my class, which I think is like perfect for the way things have been going for me. I think putting on 8 pounds is reasonable. I think I've done it this past off season. I'm now 11 weeks out and 13 weeks out. I'm doing 2 shows this year again, and I think we're in a good spot. Men's physique, it's just growing so fast, and it's weird now because there is no weight cap, like I said, so I figure Classic would be a better look for me. Plus, I just have better structure for Classic, I think, and that's just in my opinion. But we'll see how that goes. But I'm really excited. Yeah, that's been my whole journey, man. It hasn't been easy. There's a lot of things in my personal life that were very chaotic, and it's tough to line it all up and give you guys the full picture. But from losing childhood home to finding a place to live with my brother, then to paying for my way back into community college and transferring to a big university and studying finance, And then from there, going to like getting an internship at a big consulting firm, and all of these things going on, and going through a couple bad relationships and getting my heart broken, and there's all that too. But I'm just sticking, this video is going to be strictly just about the bodybuilding side of things. But there's all this other stuff that's going on in my life too. You know what I mean? And we've kind of stayed resilient. I've been disciplined. And I think the hard work is finally paying off, and I think that's why, just being honest and being genuine and being transparent, I think is what has gravitated a lot of people towards watching my stuff. I know, like, I don't have the best cinematics or editing skills or things like that, but I think I get a lot of support for just being who I am, which I genuinely appreciate. So that's been the journey thus far, but in all honesty, it's been a long one, but it's really only just begun. So, it's been a couple years of being like dead set on just bodybuilding all the time and trying to be a pro and all this stuff. So, I think a lot's going to change, and I'm very excited for that, and I hope you guys are as well, and I do appreciate all the love and support. Again, you guys know I'm a new Raw and Revive athlete. There's a drop coming up April 5th, and that's going to be at noon Eastern Standard Time. If you guys could, this will be my very first drop with Raw ever and Revive ever, and it would mean the absolute most if you guys went crazy with code Johnny. I make a good first impression, and it also helps support me on prep. As you know, preps are expensive, and this is how I make a living. So anything helps, and I appreciate the love and support, guys. That's kind of all we got today for this video. I know it was just a sit down, but hopefully you guys kind of enjoyed the process of my little fitness journey, and hopefully it motivates you guys to know that sometimes changes don't happen overnight. Sometimes they take time. I wasn't like a pro caliber looking guy when I started. My first 2 years, even first 3 years, even it took years and years and years for me to develop a physique that people are like, wow, that's impressive. So just know, if you're not there yet, that's okay. But if you stay persistent and you stay disciplined and you stay patient, it's going to happen, man, eventually. Especially if you figure out how to diet, how to train, and all that stuff just comes with time anyways. But just hang in there. Just because you don't blow up in a year doesn't mean that it's not going to happen. Just keep going. No matter what, keep going. Anybody can do this, man. Just, lean into what makes you different. Whether you're funny or you're charismatic or you're informative or whatever the case may be, lean into what makes you different. Capitalize on like your strong suits and just be persistent. Do not stop, and it will pay off. It's changed my life, man. Look at me, I'm living proof of it. So I don't come from anything. I come from nothing at all. So if I can do it, you guys most definitely can. Just keep after it. And thank you for watching, guys. I appreciate it. I will see you in the next one. I'll see you guys next Tuesday, probably. I'm going to start moving to 2 uploads a week, but for now, I will see you next Tuesday. I love you. Peace.